Lewis King was an adventurous boy who found the world endlessly fascinating. With an inquisitive mind, he was always eager to experiment. You know the type. Those children who, when told not to do something, become even more determined to try it. Little Lewis was exactly like that. Whenever he was told not to play with something, he would wait for just the right moment to find out for himself why it was off limits. Lewis was fortunate to have a wonderful grandmother, Granny Sheila, who occasionally looked after him while his mom worked. Granny Sheila stepped in with loving commitment, and her years of experience with children gave her confidence in handling her special grandson, or so she thought. However, since Lewis was quite hyperactive, she hadn't realized she needed to keep an eye on him nearly all the time to prevent any accidents from happening. Every caregiver carries a concern in the back of their mind that something might happen to a child while under their care, which is why they take their responsibilities so seriously. Sheila had another gift, a great sense of humor, which helped her cope with the many unexpected things that happened throughout the day. With Lewis by her side, unexpected things were a normal part of most days. Like any other caregiver, she was aware of the tendency small children have to stick things up their noses, ears, and even in their eyes. This is common for toddlers younger than 4 years, but Lewis was already 10 years old. Therefore, surely his grandmother warned him not to do that, explaining the dangers involved, and he was old enough to understand. At age 10, you're supposed to have developed some sense of responsibility. Children learn through touch and experimentation how to navigate the world around them. Lewis was playing and experimenting as always. While playing, he stuck something up his ear and then wasn't able to remove it on his own. Although Lewis loved and trusted his grandmother, he knew he would be in trouble. Therefore, he decided to keep the item stuck in his ear a secret for a week. Maybe you've done this yourself when you were young, keeping a secret for fear of punishment. Surely, you can understand that it was only after a week that he mustered the courage to tell his grandmother that something was stuck in his ear. When his grandmother asked him what it was, he said it was a pencil. Earlier that day, he had been quietly doing some coloring work upstairs. Would you have been shocked or furious if you had to deal with such a situation? Grandma Sheila was amazed after this revelation from her grandson. She had the unpleasant task of informing his parents of what had happened, as well as the guilt that this had happened on her watch. She blamed herself a little for not keeping a closer watch, although she also knew that it was impossible to do that all the time with a lively 10-year-old boy. After a quick glance into Lewis' ear, his grandmother decided to take him to the hospital for help. All she could see in the ear canal was darkness. She wasn't too shocked, as she knew the character of her grandson, and this was not the first time she had to deal with his unique personality. However, she had a bit of a panic attack when the boy started to cry, and she realized her panic rubbed off on Lewis. All of a sudden, he became hysterical and tried to hit his head against the wall to dislodge the object in his ear. Lewis did not understand the severity of his actions or the potential consequences. Sheila knew she had to calm herself down and take control of the situation. Despite her perceived calm, she knew she had to get urgent help. The ear is a very sensitive area of the body, and damage can easily be caused, resulting in deafness, something she definitely did not want for her grandson. Since Lewis was still somewhat out of control, his grandmother had to hold his hand to prevent him from further trying to dislodge the object in his ear. Upon arriving at the hospital, the family was referred to the ER for examination and assistance. There, doctors started to examine the boy. Staff at the ER are used to dealing with unusual injuries, and they surely had their share of dealing with accidents involving small children. The treatment of Lewis was one of those situations where you have great concern, yet it is mixed with a feeling of compassion for such a mischievous boy. Any foreign object stuck in the ear canal can cause various problems. Foreign objects can cause an infection that will have a potential ripple effect. Firstly, it could severely affect the person's balance. Secondly, coordination is generally hampered. Lastly, there is always the possibility of causing deafness in the affected ear. It was no easy task for Dr. Philip Russell to find the pencil that Lewis spoke about. Initially, the instrument he used could not reach deep enough into the ear canal, so the doctor had to find additional instruments to properly do his work. Lewis was still in a panic attack and had to be calmed down several times to allow the doctor to proceed. With every delicate instrument and all the precision he could muster, the doctor inspected the ear canal to find the pencil that Lewis had mentioned. What Dr. Russell eventually found was not a pencil at all. When doctors revealed their findings to the grandmother waiting in the emergency room, she was not that surprised, except for confessing that she had no idea where Lewis had gotten the object and how it became stuck in his ear. She also realized that he was not under her supervision at the time, so she was somewhat off the hook. Found pushed deep within the ear canal was, in fact, an old watch battery. The removal of the foreign object immediately brought some relief to the boy. The doctor spoke to Lewis and asked him why he said it was a pencil. Lewis said he wasn't sure at all what he had lodged in his ear. The battery was stuck so deep in the ear that it unfortunately caused damage to the eardrum. In fact, it left a hole in the eardrum that could potentially result in serious damage. The doctor took the time to explain to Lewis what had happened. Now, all the doctors and the grandmother could do was hope for a little miracle. Boys like Lewis must have some form of guardian angel assigned to protect them. Although there was some serious damage to the eardrum, it was able to repair itself without any additional treatment within a few weeks. As a follow-up, the doctors had a serious conversation with Lewis, warning him never to put anything in his ear again, as he was lucky to have escaped serious harm from his experiment. The eardrum was still fragile, and inserting another foreign object might not have such a fortunate outcome. Due to the unusual discovery in his ear, the BBC television series Bizarre ER, which features strange stories from the ER, chose to interview Lewis, his family, and Dr. Philip Russell. Lewis' story serves as a reminder of the importance of teaching young children not to put objects in their ears, noses, or mouths. It can be challenging to help them understand the risks involved. While they say boys will be boys, raising a child like Lewis truly requires a healthy mix of wisdom and humor. I'm really keen to know your thoughts on this story, so please don't hesitate to share your insights in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video and found it engaging, I invite you to subscribe to our channel for more similar content. Feel free to share this video. Take good care of yourselves, and I'm excited to connect with you in our future videos.